Jimmy Lewis with Dirt Bike Test. I'm a 50-some-odd-year-old senior expert motocross rider, and today we're talking about the 2024 Kawasaki KX450 with Dirt Bike Test. So this is an all-new bike for Kawasaki, and right away I noticed it. I felt it. In all the years of all the shootouts where the Kawasaki was winning, it was never really my favorite bike. It had some stuff, and the biggest thing I learned about the Kawasaki is that it may have not made the most horsepower, but it always felt like it had the most horsepower. It just has this kind of torquey, kind of mid-range, powerful motor. And the first thing I noticed about this bike is they have switched from that a little bit. They've really kind of filled in the holes. So I don't think it has any less power. It feels like they've smoothed everything out and given it a little bit of over rev, so it technically doesn't feel as powerful as it used to be. I think that's what a Kawasaki rider would notice most about this. I personally really liked it. This is the first time I just gelled right away with the motor. I wasn't forced to ride it gear high. I could ride it like you're supposed to ride a 450. So if anything, I would say it has more of a 350-esque power character. The other big thing about this bike is the chassis is a little bit narrow, a little bit slimmer, a little bit more sleek, and right away the first thing you notice about the bike, it's like lighter and more agile. The Kawasaki, in my opinion, always had kind of a heavier, bigger bike feel, and this one has now kind of come to where the Honda and the KTM with this sort of lightness, kind of quick, I would call it quicker handling, but they've kept some of the friendliness in that, where I would say the Honda's a little sharper. This one's very precise, but not so precise that it can be a little bit bothersome to some people. I really liked it. Like right away, I just gelled with the handling and noticed that even though the bike has gained a little bit of weight, it feels quite a bit lighter. Yesterday I rode the old KX, and I was surprised at how much lighter this new one felt. Really good steering through the foot pegs. I thought the ergonomics were great. The only thing that I noticed there's two things I didn't like. I could fix very easily. Was I felt like I needed to add a little bit of oil to the forks. I got some bottoming and some of the sharp hits. The track never got super rough today. Of course, it rained, which made it awesome to test traction control. So I felt maybe a little oil. They said I could probably have clicked the forks, but I didn't want to lose any of the initial comfort I was getting. And then the second thing was, in shifting, I was having a problem shifting third to fourth, and we actually tried a different bike, and I didn't feel like it went away. Every other shift was good, just third to fourth for some reason I was struggling with, especially under full power, high load conditions. Front brake was awesome. Loved the front brake. I liked the fact that I could easily adjust it, and just the feel of the Brembo was good. I think I used to feel that the old bigger rear brake was problematic. This one seems like it's right in line. It's where it needs to be. Just all the little things they did, the stuff that they took. I tried a different map. The mapping tool, just like the Yamaha, can turn this motor into whatever you want. And usually I wanted something different than it comes stock, but this bike came stock with the map I think I would have put in there. And then I wasn't a big fan of the traction control, but that's me personally. The traction control did what it was supposed to do, and it did work. Tried the start mode. It would be a very slippery start to necessitate, needing the start map. But I felt like I just think all the improvements made me happy. I think it's a much better Kawasaki for me. If that means everybody else, I think a lot of people are going to miss some of that power feeling, but it's got plenty of power. And then I'm sure if we play more with the tuning maps and stuff, we can get whatever we want out of it. So yeah, awesome day to be riding dirt bikes. Most people are complaining. Everybody else went home. We're out here riding still. Okay, Trevor, take 17.
All right, Trevor Hunter here at Dirt Bike Test. We're out here at Glen Helen riding the new KX450. I've been fortunate enough to spend basically the last year on the older generation KX450. So I got really familiar and comfortable with that chassis and kind of that motor and everything it's all about. So first thing today, the chassis, I think, is to me the biggest difference. Just how much lighter it felt. And I'm one of those guys where I tend to prefer the heavier, slower steering bikes. So that old Kawasaki really suited me well. But this Kawasaki, I feel like it lost a touch of its stability, but you gain so much in the cornering. You gain so much in the cornering that for most people, I think it'll be a better motorcycle. For me personally, I need to ride it a little bit more just to kind of test out that stability factor. One thing I did do to kind of help that was we started at sag with 105, and then like I do with a lot of my bikes, I took a turn of preload out to around a 108-ish. That seemed to help a lot for me. Just like I said, I do that on a lot of my bikes for stability, and I'd lower in the back, and that made a huge difference for me. Moving on to the motor. The motor from stock to stock I thought was a much better, or I say better, a much easier to ride motor. Stock before, it was like, it had some ups and downs, and like that initial crack of the throttle, kind of at lower RPMs, the bike was super jerky and kind of upsetting, especially in the corners. And this bike didn't have any of that. It was super smooth, super easy to ride, and just pulled from bottom to top. It pulled really good. We played a little bit with the mapping. The Kawasaki has a new Rideology app, kind of like the Yamaha, and we got a pretty good map in that I feel, had it not started raining, I would have really liked on a drier track. But so I feel we'll get some more time in on this bike on different days and see how that map works. But overall, motor felt really good. The chassis, I think, feels really good, and for a lot of people, I think will be maybe a better KX. One of the biggest thing that excites me about this bike is air filter and airbox design. It's quite honest, it was kind of a pain to change the old air filter. It had an 8mm T handle, a 10mm T handle. 99% of the time you drop dirt into the airbox when you're pulling the old filter out. It's just really old school and kind of a pain. And this one looks to be very, very simple. The Brembo front brake, I really like. They got rid of that super narrow, thin clutch lever. It felt like a razor blade. Yeah, so they made a lot of small improvements in a lot of areas that some of the other manufacturers have been doing for years now. Kawasaki's kind of caught on and put their own twist on it, and I think it works really good.
If you liked what you saw in this video, come check us out over at dirtbiketest.com on the webs. We have bike tests, product tests, a lot of fresh dirt, and you can even support us by clicking through our links. Hopefully we'll see you out in the trail.